Hey, how y'all doing? It's Sharonda, and hey, how y'all doing? And today I am here with some bookish thoughts on Firebird by Juliet Cross. So let's go ahead and get into this thing, shall we? So hey, how y'all doing? Hope your day is going great. First, I would like to say thank you to publisher Bramble for allowing me early access to this book. Firebird was released today. And yes, this is a late video, but the universe would not act right with me yesterday, so here I am. Okay, this is part of a new series, which this author is going to be is putting out, and I think the name of the series is Fire That Burns, and it's like I think it's three sisters or two sisters. I think it's two sisters now. In this book, we have Melina and Julian. This book is set in like Roman area. We have a Caesar character. Also, this is romantasy. And we have dragon shifters, y'all. We have dragons, okay? So in this book, Melina is a witch. She's the type of witch that can like manipulate emotions, things of that nature. Julian is a dragon shifter. He comes from a long line of dragon shifters. So I'll start with the characters. For the most part, I like Juliet and Melina. I liked Melina better. Her character was very feisty. She wasn't like overly annoying like some romancy characters tend to be. And given her situation that she found herself in, this lady had every right to be walking around stomping and cussing everybody out in the book, okay? I wouldn't even mad at her. Now, Julian's character, oh boy. Now, Julian kind of like rises up in the ranks of Caesar's armies, okay? He is also Caesar's nephew, okay? So sometimes I just feel like inside, throughout the book, he wasn't giving me that cold, calculating general, okay? He was making a whole lot of crazy moves. Not even crazy. They were kind of like, not smart moves. And I was like, Julian, you're supposed to be top general, okay? You are your uncle's nephew, and you out here making mistakes that little old, that little old nobody would be making. I was like, what is going on? You know what I'm saying? So Julian's character was very much kind of like wishy-washy for me. He was iffy, and I was just like, I don't know. It's kind of like he has a rival in this book, and his rival was kind of like moving a little bit better than he was. I was like, but I hated his rival, so I was just like, come on. Anyway, okay, this romance, all right, the romance was okay for me. There's a lot going on inside of this book. When Julian and Melina first meet, they meet when she's young, and they are not like really young, but she's young. Anyway, her and her sisters are part of like this dance troupe or whatever, and they're part of kind of like this traveling kind of like circus band, whatever it is. So when her and Julian first meet, he meets her, she's coming out of this dance. He's kind of like captivated. Now, here's the thing. Julian right off the bat knows that Melina is his mate. Melina don't, okay? His dragon is automatically able to, they do that sniffing thing and like, ooh, that's my mate or whatever. But he does not say this to Melina when he first meets her, okay? Because, again, when they first meet, Julian's on the rise within Caesar's army. Caesar is, he's at that point where he's taking over shit, and everybody's scared of him. So, everybody kind of like moving, kind of like, they don't want to piss Caesar and his people off. So that is their first encounter. I feel like their first encounter sparked, it sparked intrigue for me. It gets the reader engaged in what you think is about to go on, inside of this book. You like what's going on between Julian and Melina when they first meet. It's very mysterious. It's very, it's a little bit, they kind of like had that little like flirtatious thing going on or whatever. So, and Melina knows who Julian is because, like I said, he's rising up in Caesar's army, so people know who he is, and he's kind of like feared, because him and his army are just kind of like going around and they doing what they supposed to be doing, okay? Now, the second time that Julian and Melina meets, it is the dynamic between them changes significantly. Melina eventually becomes a slave because her and her family are attacked, and her and her sisters are separated, so they're kind of like spread all about. Nobody knows where anybody is at, okay? So Melina runs into Julian again because she is with this other group of people, his army or somebody in Caesar's troop or whatever, catches them. And Julian, instead of taking Melina back to Caesar, because Melina is now getting her own little fame. Again, she's a witch. Word is getting around about this witch that is traveling around with this troop. So Julian was supposed to catch her or get her from this other group of Caesar people and take her on back to Caesar. But Julian was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm saying I'm just going to like take her to my house. And that's what he ends up doing. So they now have this very different power dynamic in master slave. Julian doesn't bring her in his house as his mate, even though he knows Melina is his mate. Julian brings Melina in his house as one of his slaves, and she was one of those slaves in his house that was supposed to be close to him, like dress him, shave him, feed him, things like, taste the food, make sure that shit ain't poison, things of that nature. This is another thing that kind of like pissed me off, like straight up pissed me off about Julian's character, because I'm like, you're Caesar's nephew, okay? You're top general in his armies. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't be kind of like, in your uncle's ear, like, whispering, conniving, doing something. I feel like a lot of times throughout the story, Julian was not doing enough to protect Melina. I was just like, man, she is in your house, and what are you doing, Julian? So just be aware of that when you're going inside of this book. There are slaves mentioned inside of this book. There are some very brutal things going on inside of this book because these are dragon shifters, and it's a lot of brutality going on inside of this book. Again, we in Rome, we in that era, so it's a lot of stuff going on. So just beware, okay? Now, the magic element inside of this book. For me, I ain't even gonna hold y'all, I felt like the magic elements was a little bit lackluster. I would have liked to see more of Melina's power realized on page, because when we go inside of this book, it is it is basically told that her sisters are supposed to change the outcome of this world, what is going on, wars and all of that. So I just wanted to see more of her power realized on page. I feel like we didn't get that. I was just like, she's supposed to be like this all-encompassing, powerful witch. She need to be knocking people's heads off, like straight up, no questions asked, don't have no qualms about it. I'm knocking your head off, okay? So I wanted to see more of that on page. Now, I did like her descriptions of the dragon shifters and the different dragon houses, okay? I would have wanted more on page how the Romans even became to be dragon shifters anyway. There is a side plot as well outside of this romance of this coup, okay? Just a small little spoiler here. A coup is being planned to take Caesar out, because Caesar is up there wilding, okay? They just like, we got to get him up out of here, because if we don't get him up out of here, okay? And Julian is not, he is violent when he needs to be, but Julian wants to see a different Rome, and the way his uncle moving, he like, So at the end of it all, this was an okay read for me. Again, this is going to be a series, so we're going inside the second book, which is one of the sisters. I'm pretty excited to read that as well. The sister that we're going in, she's the oldest sister, so she's a little bit more, Melina was tough, but I think that other sister is tougher, okay? And but what I would want to see in the second book is more of a romance develop between a couple. I do hope we get to see Julian and Melina again, and Melina find her family and meet up with her sisters and things like that. But I will want to see like more development of Julian's character, and just them as a couple, you know what I mean? But for the most part, this is a okay, good read. I think a lot of the romancy girls are going to dig this book, you know what I mean? For me, a whole lot of things could have been done, but I'm not mad at it, you know what I mean? I have read Juliet Cross, one of her books before, and that's why I was like super excited to go inside this, because I was like, oh, we about to throw down. Okay, a whole lot of throwing down was not going on. But if you like spicy, romancy, if you like dragon shifters, if you like that whole Romanesque era, you know what I mean, then I would definitely say check this book out. Okay, so that is it for me, and until the next one, later days. Bye.